Gentlemen, it's a pleasure and privilege for me to be integral part of this interesting and exciting innovations conference. And Navid was asking how many institutions are good. Innovation officer. You can't sustain your credibility as a professional unless with an innovation officer by yourself. We live in a changing world. Every change creates challenges and it's full of opportunities. Right around the gave a concept, from the economist perspective, how the banking innovation has been sailing through. We recognize the fact financial economies are converting as well. We recognize globalization, re-regulation, what was once described as deregulation has become re-regulation, technology and consumerism is redefining this world. Financial economies are still under pressure. Real economies are redefining the scope and purpose. Communism has changed. Capitalism is allocating its common substance. Mixed economies are resetting us. Financial crisis is on account of the innovation. Financial innovations, investment banks have created toxic products on account of innovation. It was already as long as asset price inflation was on. When the asset price inflation started, not only the prime collateral was out, subprime popped up. Clearly, the governing evidence we have seen what started as a liquidity crisis became a funding crisis. Funding crisis has become a solvency crisis. Today, we are seeing a sovereign issue. Although politics and economics is converging. That's precisely the reason G7 has become G8. G8 has become G20 today. It's an inclusive world. Incremental growth comes out of the emerging markets. There's an absolute change in the market preference. Over 60% of the incremental growth of global GDP comes out of the emerging market. The substance is, today, the world is still really under pressure. Unless we set a universal standard in terms of accounting, valuation, securitization, the world at large is going to go through extraordinary transformation. And again, it's part of the equation. This crisis is an opportunity. That's what my dictate. The financial crisis has given ethical and moral responsibility for all of us to think through, to run an enterprise. You as a good person, you as a good professional, you as a good corporate, you as a good country, you as a good continent, you as a world at large. The eradication of extreme poverty, gender equality, bringing universal standard to bring in cross welfare to the mass. That's the change Millennium Development Goal is setting, and clearly the governing evidence is there for all of us to see. This crisis has created more opportunities. That's how I enjoy it. Sustaining credibility, sustaining the global growth is possible only if you're innovative. You don't need to be an electronic data person. Before I took responsibility 10 years before, in Doha Bank, I was technology operator in 4 financial institutions. Conceptually, it's a learning process. You keep innovating because you keep learning. The application comes with a boom or downturn. You can establish yourself, sustaining your credibility, whether you run an enterprise or a country or a continent, only if you're innovative. In the last 6 years, if you look back, the liquidity crisis was fixed by printing money, improving the liquidity, inflating the market, asset price inflation was rolled out. That's crisis, phase 1. When printing money was deflecting the world at large, defining the currency mechanism, redefining the currency mechanism, then phase number 2. Phase number 3 is what we are oscillating now when QE tapering, when you stop the bond buying programs, what impact it is going to have in the global economy, what sort of deceleration will happen in the currency market, commodity market, bond market, property market, is phase number 3. That's what we are seeing today. Nothing has changed in the last 6 years. It is only a liquidity. The global politics and economics is converging with a clear vision to set in universal standard. Auditors have failed. Rating agencies have failed. And again, regulators have failed. Right regulation has failed. So innovation is cropping up. That's precisely the reason why today, irrespective of your business model, whether you run a financial institution, local or global, private or public, it is public, it is global. Your business is global. Your business is totally global. We live in a single, interconnected, interdependent world. That's precisely the interpretations for innovation. Unless you set a universal standard in terms of your innovation, you are not going to sustain your credibility. Look at the global economics. I have to bring the economic perspective. That's the concept given to me. The world at large is still reeling under pressure. IMF, next month, we have a summit in Washington, D.C. IMF has been predicting for the last 4 years, ever since printing money and liquidity was innovated, everyone started printing money. Not only Americans have started printing money by quantitative easing and Federal Reserve. Today, Abenomics was invented in Japan. 30 years it was technically under recession. You have to innovate to bring it up. Export-driven economies, unless they weaken the currencies, they can't have endured in terms of innovation. They can't sustain, pull it out, the economy from the rubbles. So they started printing money. European Central Bank started printing money. United Kingdom started printing money. So currency war was created by weakening the currency, inflating these economies. Currency war was created to create a trade war. So trade war and currency war intertwined. That's the innovation for you from the economic. Till today, global growth is at stake. What's the growth IMF is predicting? Every time the spring meeting or in October when we have get together, every prediction has been defying the logics. Simply because economics and politics is not convergent. America is still dealing under pressure. Where is the real growth? Last quarter was 4.2%, but aggregate terms it's less than 2%. Possibly they may do 200% next year. Advanced economies are reeling under pressure. Same story holds good. Emerging markets are slowing down, including China and India. You need inclusive growth, you need innovation in terms of overall convergence of politics and economics to sustain a global growth. Brazil is under pressure. Russia is under pressure. And again, China is said to be putting trillions of dollars to make sure the financial system is stable and functional. Financial stability was challenged. That's precisely the reason the regulators have understood there has to be a deregulation. That's innovation for you. Conceptually, what is started as an investment banking crisis has become a human crisis today. World at large has realized we were living in an inflated world. The world has to deflate and substance. At the same time, deflated part of the world, technically countries or continents were in recessions, they have to pull out to become informative. That's precisely the reorganization we are seeing. That's precisely the innovation, what's happening in global terms. When it comes to Europe, you have a bigger say. When the monetary policy is centralized, fiscal policy is not centralized. There is a design. There is a design by birth, it's a deformity. Unless you create a fiscal union, unless you innovate fiscal union and decide the political destiny in substance, you are not going to have convergence in politics and economics. That's why enlarging Europe, whatever is defined by Maastricht criteria, are leading under pressure. Extraordinary turn of events. But this is precisely the opportunity to clean the world. This is precisely the opportunity to innovate to make sure we create global growth in a sustainable form. As an institution, perhaps those who know for our bank. If 2002 to 2007 was a boom, the graph was ascending. If 2008 today is world at large is technically in recession, still the graph is ascending. That's the predicament. Innovation can sustain your credibility. Innovation can make sure you keep creating a knowledge society which will innovate, which will map the risk into business process and ensure you have sustainability in terms of delivering lives to all the stakeholders, customers, whether it's shareholders, whether it's supply chain, or regulators. You keep innovating. That's the part of the game today. Incremental values comes out of innovation, and that's part of your daily routine. Transformation is not an option. That becomes sustainable only if you're innovative. Look at the landscape which has changed in innovation in terms of market. Corporate banking today, if you look at its substance, is one stop. Whether it's corporate advisory, whether it is project advisory, whether it is funded or non-funded advances, you integrate them. You have to deliver a single window. There's no option. Financial crisis has set in new momentum to re-regulate to make sure you don't overdo. You have to look at the debt servicing capacity of institutions to make sure you have integration in place. That's innovation for you. When it comes to re-regulation in terms of retail, the world at large has looked at consumer protection. That's innovation. Gone are the days where the credit card companies can charge you 2 to 3% per month. Gone. Consumer protection. You have to actually make sure you limit the consumer in terms of borrowing capacity. You limit the interest rate, what you can charge. That's the substance. That's precisely the capitalistic economies have been shown, including the United States. The deposit protection is coming. That's innovation for you. This is a change. It's not only technology or data processing you need to innovate. Business innovation is an integral part of your daily making. When it comes to generating investments, the changes are very many. Gone are the days where you can do casino banking. Shadow banking you can do. You can play with the shadows money and play with the financial markets. That's not gambling ground anymore. The regulators have got to say to you, play as if it's your own money. Access to shareholders' equity, that's addictive. How much you can have proprietary funding, you have addictive. How much you can invest in a bond or fixed income securities or equities or alternates, that is addictive. Paul Walker's rule was invented to make sure there is no proprietary reorganization unless you consider your money is shareholders' money. That's the change we are talking about. When it comes to treasury, we have seen the financial markets, how are they exactly getting inflated. We have seen stock market were absolutely inflated for the reasons which I mentioned. Transcending borders, it is infecting world over. Even emerging markets today are not going to sustain their credibility. I was in Bloomberg last week, exactly on Tuesday, here in Dubai. There was a call from London Studio. They asked me, geopolitical tension, Iraq is in crisis, you have Syria is in a mess, you have North Africa is in trouble. What do you think of this? Who will invest in this market? I said, look, Dubai is up 51%. Qatar is up 37%. Italy. Oman is up 12%. Abu Dhabi is up 20%. Saudi is up 29%. What are you talking about? If your economic fundamentals are strong, financial stability is there, sustainability comes in. And it's vice versa here. If you aim at sustainability, if you start creating a knowledge society, that's precisely happening here. When Dubai was in crisis, I was asking BBC 40 minutes interview, 2009 November. Perhaps you can look at my website. I said, Dubai is not a country. UAE as a federation is integral. Dubai is an integral part. The problem issue is measurable, manageable, and controllable. If you say 86 to 90 billion is the total measurable debt for Dubai, as against 462 billion then as the sovereign fund of UAE, it is measurable, manageable, controllable. Dubai is bouncing back. That's the reality. While the asset price inflation issue was, yesterday I was writing an article for Police. So, in substance, you have to understand, financial markets are nothing but innovation. Today it's a gambling ground. Stock market is lifted because of the liquidity. Currency market is volatile because of the liquidity. Commodity markets are innovative because the currency is weak if you get the risk by buying commodity futures. Commodity markets are lifted. So it's not there in innovation. Where there is no innovation? Property market, again, if you look at the reorganization which has taken place in the property market in UAE or the rest of the Gulf states, the economic momentum is coming back on account of innovation. So innovation is an integral part of your functional life. Countries are continuous. Individual institutions who cannot innovate cannot sustain a long-term prosperity or prosper at the mass. That's the substance we need to understand. When it comes to technology and operations, it is not new. Digital advantage, mobility, again, m-commerce, e-commerce, these were integrated. There are changing business trends. There are changing technology trends. Technology drives the cost reduction, business process innovation, knowledge process outsourcing. These are integral part of your function maker. As I said, whether you run a local or a global institution, you have to run it global to make sure you are competitive in substance. Because your local market has become global. The world at large has become global. Unless you innovate a business model which is akin to the global benchmarks, you are not going to sustain. So your business in market acquisition will drive you the change. There is no need for 269 banks to operate in the Middle East. You need 5 banks to operate. These 5 banks will capture. It's a question of time. Changing times will happen, and there will be stress on your profitability. The shareholders will dictate your return on assets, return on equity will drive you to make sure you have to deliver the goals. If you don't, industry consolidation will take place. Mergers and acquisitions is an integral part of your function makeup in terms of business model. Unless you deliver this fact, stakeholders, all the values which are measurable, manageable, controllable, you don't have leadership and substance. So you have to innovate. Industry consolidation is not an option when it comes to regression in terms of profitability. Regulators are innovating to make sure you contain your business model to see it is stable and functional, sustainable with the long-term values. That's innovation for you. So it is not technology has to. Technology is an integral part of your functional way of life. That's how we sit. Again, the business model which is set into universal standard, you're going to tackle like electricity and water use. Make sure this technology is an integral part of your regular makeups so that transaction cost comes down. Innovation has to be continuous. That's sustaining your credibility. At the same time, you have to innovate the business process, procedures, policies to make sure your business model is akin to sustainable values. That's what the Business Summit is all about. That's what the Middle East Innovation Summit is all about from an economic perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for your time.